With your hosts, Bird Gang representative Casual E and Sean McConnell from Casual Sports, me, Jay Adams, and NFL vet Ed Smith from Easy Sports Talk. Buckle up for 60 minutes of NFL football previews and pick'ems. Hold tight as we preview this week's games with in-depth analysis and opinion and a flavor all our own. Bragging rights are on the line with the Neutral Zone Pick'em trophy up for grabs. It's the Neutral Zone. Lace them up. What is good, everybody? It is the Neutral Zone here on Casual Sports, casualsports.com. I am your host, Javon Adams, joined by, as always, my esteemed panel, Sean McConnell, Earl, Casual E. Burnett, and our man missing in action, Ed Smith. Shout out to Ed Smith. So we do this every week. It is our football pick'em show. And you'll see by the Brady Bunch look of what we're doing today that we are, it's like we're Infinity Stones and we're in some separate areas.
Solid
Sometimes
reference.
you just got to go and do what you got to do to make the show happen. So that's what we do. We are professionals in every sense of the word. So I want to get into week 4, gentlemen, but just off the top, two teams on buys this week, the Jets and the 49ers. So we're going to start off, for those of you new to what we do, casualsports.com is where you want to be for everything related to Arizona sports, everything to do with the Bird Gang. Sometimes the gentleman goes on a rant. You can find it there. Casual E do his thing. Sean writes great articles. A great team that we have at casualsports.com. So we break it down into four different segments. So the first segment are the games that are interesting for a variety of reasons. The second segment is always dedicated to the Arizona Cardinals because we are a Cardinal show. We want the Cardinals to succeed. They don't always do that, but we try to pull from the best that we can. Segment 3 is the next tier of game, so to speak, and then segment 4 is our rapid fire segment. So let's get it started with the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. The reason I picked this one, I think it's not every year every season that you get to talk about 2 3-0 teams in the sense of the Buffalo Bills being one of those 3-0 teams going against the legendary team in the New England Patriots. So let's start with that. This game is interesting because I'm curious to see how the Bills will react when they're not favored in this game, but when they have so much positive going on for them. So let's start with this one, Sean. What you got?
Man, I can't believe Buffalo's 3-0. Can I just start by saying that is blowing my mind. But they're finally going to be tested. And by tested, I mean dismantled, obliterated, eviscerated. New England's biggest concern has been answering questions about Antonio Brown, not actually the Buffalo matchup. They're more concerned about how they're answering or not answering AB questions versus this Buffalo matchup. So that just shows you, like, this is going to be one of the road teams that's going to win this week, and it's going to be by a mile.
Casual E.
Yeah, man. Three teams 3-0. One of them got a fake 3-0 record. Ain't really played nobody, but like you just said, the defense they're going to go up against in this one is not Cincinnati. It's not the Jets or the Giants. This Patriots defense, man, they are number 1 in all categories. Yes, it's a small sample size as far as only 3 games, but they are number 1 dating back to the playoff run and the Super Bowl. This defense has been falling out. So the only question left here is, will the Buffalo Bills score a touchdown?
So you think it might be like that?
Yeah, because the Patriots have not allowed an opponent to score a touchdown on offense yet this year. That's amazing.
It's like that.
And then, dating back to last year's playoff run and the Super Bowl, they haven't allowed a team to score on them a touchdown or score on them at all in the first quarter. So it's like, will the Buffalo Bills be able to score a touchdown in this game? And you saw how they struggled with Cincinnati. You saw how they struggled with the Jets. They had to make the comeback and get the win.
Right.
So, man, it's crazy.
All right, so now we're going to move on to the Dallas Cowboys against the New Orleans Saints. It's the Sunday night game, and this is interesting. So when you look at the matchup from from last season, Dallas came out on top 13-10 in that matchup. But this year, there's always the Cowboy fans always have high expectation for their team no matter what. But when you look at Dak Prescott got nine touchdowns so far, 920 yards so far this thus far in the season. It's they seem to be, I don't know, that maybe the optimism is warranted, but then you have the New Orleans Saints. Bridgewater took over last week because Drew Brees is going to be out for a few weeks. They have Michael Thomas. They have Alvin Kamara. Your thoughts on this one? Let's go with you, Casual E. What you got?
Man, you remember back last year how I kind of put Dak Prescott. I never would put him up on the elite status yet.
Right.
But now I'm starting to think, man, he might be. He looks pretty dang good, man. I might have to track that. He's starting to play like an actual NFL quarterback, man.
Say it ain't so.
Exactly. But this same Saints team he's going to be up against, though. Of course, we all know, like you just said, Teddy Bridgewater has taken over, and he hasn't really lit it up yet. But he is doing a good job at utilizing Alvin Kamara, and he's like their percent bell cow. So Dallas has their bell cow. It's going to be cancel those two backs out. And Prescott is doing probably the best quarterback in the NFC right now. So yeah, I think Cowboys are be tough to beat with the quarterback. Even if Teddy Bridgewater may be still a starter, maybe, but he hasn't. Y'all here?
I'm here. You here?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm here.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, so Sean, what you got?
You know, I got to go on the flip side of this one. Maybe just because I hate Dallas that much. But, you know, New Orleans gave Seattle fits last week. Right. Fits with this whole system that they're trying to throw out. So they're playing at home as well. And, you know, New Orleans is going to back them until they die. So for Dallas, I mean, they're finally playing, even without Breeze, a more formidable team. Right. Overall, a more formidable team on all sides of the ball. Minus the quarterback, they have now a tier 2, like like an old tier 2 quarterback in the sense of like, how do you classify Bridgewater? Tier 2 from like 3 years ago, and now he's tier 4. Like, how does that work? I'm not really concerned about it. I got to go with the home team here because I don't know what to make of Dallas. They haven't been tested.
Okay, so let's move on to, I think this game is an interesting conversation piece. We have the Cleveland Browns against the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, the Cleveland Browns came into this season being that team that was the darling. So now they're under 500. And my question all along when talking about the Cleveland Browns is how are they going to respond when they're faced with adversity? And so now they're 1-2. So now will they be able to come back? But they're going against the Baltimore Ravens team that, with I think it was this week or it was today, matter of fact, where the quote came out from yesterday that Lamar Jackson said he doesn't like to run, he just doesn't. He'd rather sit back in the pocket and throw. So the question was raised: is that just him trying to play the rope-a-dope, or is that really true? But regardless of the fact, it's going to be interesting to see if the Cleveland Browns get punched in the mouth coming out of this game. What's going to happen? In my opinion, you've probably heard and seen all of the statistics in terms of Baker Mayfield and his inefficiency and his tendency to throw interceptions late in the game or in the fourth quarters. Will that rear its ugly head again? So last year when these teams faced, it was the December game. Baltimore ended up winning 26-24. So what you got on this one, Casual E?
Man, you gotta love Baker Mayfield, man. I love his fire back at Rex Ryan in the media. He said Rex ain't coaching for a reason. I'm like, man, Baker, he sure knows to fire back, but you gotta love his intensity. But Rex was right though. Baker is still looking he's still having trouble going through his progressions. And he is having a one look on one side and then trying to improvise after that. That's exactly what he's doing out there. And that's only because they haven't learned all the receivers yet and everybody hasn't gelled together yet. So he's forcing balls into OBJ and forcing balls into Landry. And it's like they're not on the same page yet. So Baltimore is already rolling right now. And so that defense in Baltimore and their offense, now they've got an offense now, and Cleveland's still struggling. That's going to probably get ugly. Baltimore probably going to run away with that.
What you got, Sean?
See, I see this being a close game, actually. Almost too close to call out, or I have to go with the Ed Smith rule and take Baltimore at home. But, you know, both teams are looking good, in my opinion. Not great necessarily. I think Baltimore looks a little bit better than them. Both teams need this win to prove that they're not just sleeper teams. Even though Cleveland's behind and under 500, they're still one of those sleeper teams, and they still have those expectations. Those aren't going to go away until you're way below 500, right? Until you're close to eliminated. It's so close for me. I have to go with the home team and the Ed Smith rule. I'm going Baltimore, but my heart's kind of hoping for Cleveland.
Interesting. So here's something that's interesting. The next game, I don't trust either one of these quarterbacks, and so there's so many teams in the league where you have quarterbacks that you don't trust. But I'm speaking in particular about the Chicago Bears against the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, this is that they used to call it some people call it the North Division because it's the black and blue division, that type of thing. But Chicago comes in 2-1. They actually won their last game. Minnesota, they come in 2-1. Again, I don't trust either quarterback just because Trubisky had a good game last game. To me, it looked like he was throwing off balance a little bit. He was rolling out, and some of those throws, I'm not saying that they were lucky, but I'm not saying that they were pinpoint accurate either. What do you got in this one? How do you see this game playing out, Sean?
You guys heard of Lizzo?
Yes. Where you going with this?
The quarterback. No man on the Minnesota Vikings. They got no man to play quarterback on the Minnesota Vikings. This game is the playing for second place behind Green Bay game. I mean, let's just be honest. Let's call it for what it is. I don't have that much confidence in Minnesota on the road yet, maybe ever. So I have to expect Khalil Mack and who do they just have from Denver as well that was lighting everybody up? Danny Trevathan, right? So you got Mack and Trevathan that are just running through and running over quarterbacks. I see a lot of that at home. It's going to be a close game, but I still see that happening.
That's another one of those division games. But for the Vikings, their offense has been Dalvin Cook, and he has been fabulous this year. 62% of their offense is Dalvin Cook. And, of course, we see what Kirk Cousins looks like as far as throwing the ball. He's not lighting it up or not looking like $18 million, that's for sure. But 15 of 21 attempts on 174 yards, that's pedestrian. That's like a new rookie coming into the league. But Dalvin Cook is 62% of their offense. So if you can run the ball, you can neutralize another team's defense by running the ball. Maybe, but with Khalil Mack, the way he pass rush in this game, they're going to be running the ball in this game. So it's going to be a knockdown, drag out divisional battle. The Bears secondary is not that good. So if Kirk Cousins can come in there and try to light them up a little bit, throw the ball a little bit more, it'll help them. They don't have any passes over 40 yards.
Whew.
Both quarterbacks have not produced a pass over 40 yards complete this year so far.
Right.
So,
Man, chicks dig the long ball, and they're not throwing it.
you know this is going to be handoff all day. It's going to be ugly.
Man, Sean, do you sit at home and you write these one-liners out, man?
You know I don't. You know I don't.
At work or something like that.
Hey, before you do a show, I have to open stand-up for you or something.
Something. We have to make that happen, something like that. I'm trying to work with your boy Casual E on something. If he lets me in the door, we try to do something. So, all right. So let's move on to talk about the Arizona Cardinals. The Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals play this week. They're playing here in Arizona. Here, I'm gonna throw some stats at you. Starting with really next week and beyond, you'll probably hear me get a little bit more stat heavy because we'll have at least a quarter poll's worth of stats to digest. But this is something to consider. The Seahawks are 15th in rushing yards per game with 110. The Cardinals are 26. Okay, so you say, well, how bad can that be? 84 rushing yards per game. That's not good. I understand that it's the air raid offense and all that, but you got to be able to run the ball more than that. One of the things that when you look at passing yards per game, they're actually rather close because the Seahawks are 10th with 280 yards per game, but Russell Wilson, I want to say last week, he had 400-plus yards in terms of passing, so he can pass the ball when he needs to. But the Cardinals are 15th with 243 yards per game. Here's the thing that I'm gonna drop this, and we're going to save you for last, Casual E, but I'm going to drop this on you. The Seahawks, their rushing yards per game defense is fourth at 67 yards per game. Okay, that's cool. So what would the Cardinals be? They are 30th with 157 yards per game giving up on the defensive end. That's a bad recipe. Sean, what you got?
I just have to start by saying I'm glad I don't have to follow Earl on this segment right here because what you just dropped just hurt me. Like I just got punched in the stomach, man. It did not feel good. This may very well be the last game I picked the Cardinals to win on based on hope alone. Right? I've been picking on hope alone, and it's true. It's true. This is one of those. I hope they could turn it around right here because they need to, and I hope they can because obviously I'm a fan.
Cincinnati's coming in soon though.
That will be nice, but
yeah,
but that's going to be based on stats more. Like as you said, we're going into week 5 after this, and we're going to be looking at a lot more stat-based picks. And I can go a little bit more with my head than my heart. This game is not going to be easy. I could argue that those other 3 games that they played would be easier than this game. Going up against Seattle, who basically knows what you're going to do, and they can stop what would beat them if you could do it, which is the run. The runs per game for the Cardinals is going to get better if they can be ahead earlier, because the first 2 games they're behind all game long. So you have to pass, and that happens, and that's why the passing yards are up as well. There's got to be some way that they can find a balance. But I had all of these notes, and most of them are questions. It's time for a legitimate defensive game plan. Can Vance Joseph do that? I don't know the answer to that. It's time to build off the ability to score earlier in the week. Can they do that? I don't know. It's time for the offensive line to block and Murray to figure out when to run, scramble, or trip. Can he do that? I don't know. Lastly, it's time to build off the red zone strategy that actually works, which is taking David Johnson and pounding him in until he gets into the red zone. That's all I got.
I agree. And then you said they don't know what the defensive game plan is. Even Vance Joseph doesn't even know that because they asked him about the damn game last week. He come talking about you take away those 2 runs and we're in the game. Dude, did you see what was going on before them 2 runs? How about something for the tight end? You didn't do nothing to stop that. he thought he was doing real fine. I'm like, okay, all right. So I guess we're gonna see more of that again this week. But
question, Earl.
That's it. What's up?
Over under for Luke Wilson, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, buddy. I got the other guy. Dissel, what's his name? D. Disley or whatever his name is. I got him.
Let's go with D. Disley.
Catching a lot of passes.
Yeah, as long as he got the position tied in, you pick him up. I got that dude, man. Disley, I think his name is.
Let's call him D. Disley though, because I liked how you said it the first time.
But both these teams are coming off losses at home. We already know what ours looked like. Seattle's was a kind of like a sluggish battle type game. They had to come back in, but they still only lose by 1 possession. All their games have come down to 1 possession, but they are a very good bounce back team. So they don't usually lose 2 games in a row, and they definitely don't lose in our building. They don't lose in our. Matter of fact, last time we beat them was Russell Wilson's his first game as a rookie. So that was the last time the Cardinals beat Seattle at home. Now that's ridiculous. So they come in here, they pretty much got their furniture all in the building. They have
it's all lime green
walls. They own this building, and we almost own Seattle too when we had Palmer. So almost the same thing. But anyway, this game is going to come down to the turnover battle because the Cardinals are taking care of the ball pretty good. I mean, apart from Kyler's 2 little, ill-advised throws, the Seahawks have 4 fumbles, and they have a fumbling problem with Carson. Carson's fumbling the ball at a high rate right now. So this is going to come down to if the Cardinals defense show up, then they can go in there and strip some balls and get that kid out of his game and stop that running game. Because if they come in with that running game, Jay, like we said on the Believe show, if they come in with that running game, they're going to hit you and keep hitting you and keep hitting you until you back up, until you quit. And then in the third quarter, those 2, 4, 5, and 6 yard carries become ones to the house, and then they
Exactly.
quit. And so they'll eat at you with that, and then they'll hit you over the top with Tyler Lockett with the rookie, our rookie coverage right now is, they're a little suspect right now.
Well, it's no wonder why Pete Carroll is backing Carson, because he has no worry for the Cardinals defense.
Exactly. And then the main thing, which is what I forgot to mention on the Believe show when you were asking me about this game, how can you leave out the tight end? We already know if our game plan is not to put Hassan Reddick or somebody else other than DJ Swearinger on this tight end, we're gonna get ate up with this tight end, because this is Russell Wilson. This is not all these other quarterbacks that we went through. This is Russell Wilson. I mean, the guy right now at 119 quarterback rating has 7 touchdowns and no interceptions. I mean, this dude is going to light us up with the tight end alone if we don't cover up that dang tight end. So.
Now, real quick, I wanted to ask this before we move on to the next game. I think this is interesting because, Sean, you've been to a game this season, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you think of Seattle, you think of the 12th man, and you think of how loud it can get there, whether it's the acoustics, the way they was built, but the fans are there and they come out in force for their team. Over the last couple of seasons, or maybe even longer than that, you hear about the protect the nest type of thing, but there are often you can see the different colored jerseys that aren't the Arizona Cardinals. Last week against the Carolina Panthers, I was sleeping and I heard something, and I heard a cheer because I had it on the game, and I thought that it was something positive that the Cardinals had done, and it was actually something that the Panthers had done. What is it like? Is that a noticeable shift in terms of the jerseys and the people, the for and against the Cardinals in the stadium?
I hate to break it to you, but that is not a Cardinal success problem. That is an Arizona problem. Unfortunately and fortunately, Arizona has been blessed to grow rapidly. And that only comes not because people that are born here are replicating like rabbits. It's because that people from everywhere else are moving here, and they're bringing their fan bases with them. And yes, teams do travel well, and that does happen. But there are a lot of people from Seattle that can't afford Seattle anymore and come here. There's a lot of people from California that do the same. My parents were from New York. They came here. They had me. So I'm local, and I stay local, and I'm a diehard, right? But the thing is, a lot of these fans are season ticket holders. They don't just sell those tickets. They're season ticket holders, and then when their team comes to town, they put that other jersey on, and they act like a different person. That happens.
Right.
The Seahawks have always traveled well, and they've always had a big showing in this stadium. Even during the Carson Palmer, Bruce Arians era, there's been tons of teams that have certain followings that will fill that stadium. It's just the nature of the beast in Arizona. Unfortunately, if you want to sell those tickets, you can get a pretty penny back and put that towards next year's tickets. So it isn't a success problem, unfortunately.
Sean, on that note, when you think about what you just said about the Carson Palmer and the rivalry, this don't feel like that though, right?
No, it doesn't. This feels like little brother going up against big brother for the first time in Pop Warner.
And the Seahawks fans do travel well, and they have their own rally here in our dang city somewhere for their team going into our stadium. So hey, but you got to get one more thing: that the pass rush has to be there this weekend. To get a pass rush. So I think that you have an adjustment, hopefully, and spot put Terrell Suggs in spot duty and start Cassius Marsh on the other side of Chandler Jones. That's what I would do.
We need the speed.
Yeah, T. Suggs right now is just not bringing it. And then I think our wide receivers fits in all the youngsters. I think they're going to be really key in this game because Seattle's secondary, if we can light them up, this could be a game back and forth. But man, I just got a bad feeling about the running game though. So like you were saying, Jay, we got to even it out. I think 40-60 would be a good balance going into this game. But I don't know. We'll see.
You'll be lucky if you get 90-10.
Oh,
you think? Yeah, but you're right though because Kingsbury might be compensate for not having an offensive line that can open up holes. So he's doing all that short stuff to make it our running game, and that makes sense.
I got something to say about that one since we have time.
Kyler's going to wear down in 90 dang passes a game.
Sure. Well, go ahead, Sean.
Justin Pugh had a big little interview article written on azcardinals.com. We shared it on the Casual Sports Facebook page. And he's basically saying the offensive line, notoriously, not just the Cardinals, but in general, offensive lines all over the world get blamed for things that don't actually involve them. So he potentially is pointing the finger at Kyler holding the ball too long, David going through the wrong hole, picking up the wrong blitz, the wrong protection screen, a little jab there. So do you guys really think the offensive line is 100% of the problem? 90-10, 75-25? Because it sounds like the offensive line is disagreeing with the national opinion right now that they aren't a good offensive line.
I think there is some validity to that, because think about it this way, and Earl, you were a quarterback, so think about when you would get blamed for maybe throwing an interception back in the day when you were playing, or because the wide receiver ran the wrong route, and because you're the quarterback, you have to take the responsibility for that. So I think if we don't know what the play is and which way the guard and the tackle are supposed to go, or which way they're supposed to block, is it down, is it is it they going to the right, to the left, that the fans, it's easy to blame the offensive line. So I think that there is a lot of truth to that.
I think there's a lot of truth to that, but as well, we all got to keep in mind too that, remember, this is still a new offense, and every position has their job that they have to do. And if everybody is not collectively doing their job the right way and executing the right way, you're going to get all these mix-ups. The offensive line's going to look bad. Receivers dropping bucket. They ran the wrong route. Kyler might be off on a snap count, whatever it may be. If it comes together collectively, it looks really good. So I think it's just more scheme. I just think it's everybody's still learning this thing, and so you don't know who to block. You don't know David going. The play may be going up the gap to the right A gap, and David's running it to the B gap because he thought the play was going that way, and the offensive line is blocking for that way. It could be all those little things make a difference in a game. So the day we get it to all collectively go together, then we'll probably get to see who's actually making a mistake and who's actually good enough to actually be out there on the field, because that's what it comes down to. It's all new stuff, and everybody's still trying to learn it.
This is true. So interesting there. So let's move on to the next game. We got Kansas City at Detroit. Now, if I told you, I'm going to let both of you just guess real quick, and I'm not going to prolong it too long. But if I asked you what rank in terms of points scored would Kansas City be? What rank? What would you guess, Casual E?
1.
Okay, what would you guess, Sean?
I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to go as low as 5.
They are third when it comes to points scored, and that's surprising, if for no other reason than because of the way that Mahomes plays. But I think it's important to keep in mind that when they played against my Raiders, that it was the second quarter that was the breakout quarter for them, because in quarters 1, 3, and 4, they did nothing. They scored all their points in that quarter. So that's maybe a glass half empty, glass half full, just depending on what your perspective is. But they're going up against the Detroit Lions this week, who come into this affair. They're 2-0-1. Kansas City obviously 3-0. Mahomes is something you have to account for. He's already over almost 1,200 yards passing for the year, but I wonder, when you got to look at the running game, you want to be able to run as well. You can't cut everything on Mahomes, but it's just something to keep in mind, because they are 22nd when it comes to rush yards per game with 94. So what you got on this one, Casual E?
Yeah, the only thing that's going to come down to this is, can the Detroit Lions get in a shootout with KC? And their offense is built to where they probably can score a lot of points, because KC gives up a whole lot of passing. 19th in the league at offensive passing, defending the pass. So and 24th overall defense. They're not a good defense. So if you can stay in a game scoring with them, you might have a chance at the end. But they just score in volume so fast, that it's hard to keep up with them. So I don't see Detroit keeping up with them. The question is, really, if you really want to ask the question, going back to that Patriots defense and this KC offense, just put it together again, because that's what's going to happen in the end. Can this KC offense go against that defense? That's what it comes down to. But, of course, KC will win this game.
Sean, what you got?
This game, as far as the record goes, doesn't look like a trap game, but this is a trap game. I could totally see this being a trap game for Kansas City. I could see them dropping this game. I'd still be surprised, because they might overestimate, the Detroit Lions, or underestimate them. But ultimately think Detroit's going to come back down to earth in this game. I mean, for
Sure.
crying out loud, they tied against the Cardinals, and where are the Cardinals right now?
Exactly.
So I see KC on the road big, but there is a chance of an upset here. I'm going to say a small chance.
And you think they're going to upset them through a shootout, though, right? And it's not no defensive game.
No, I wouldn't say it a defensive game by any means. I see it being like a 27-30 type game.
Right.
Let's move on to Atlanta Falcons against the Tennessee Titans. And the reason I put this in, so the Falcons and the Titans are both 1-2. This is one of those games where Mariota, this is one of those things where you never know. He's underperformed over the course of his career. Injuries, a lot of different offensive coordinators, all those things. But I'm curious to see whether the Falcons will be able to put points up on the board again. And is this one of these? I get the feeling that Mariota is teetering on the edge of falling off for the rest of his career in terms of being a starter. And it's will it happen this week or will it happen 3 weeks from now? But what you got on this one, Sean?
You know, this game, it's the same record, same questions. What kind of team are you? Looking at both of these teams, what kind of team are you? I have no idea what these teams are about this year, and it annoys the hell out of me. No clue. I pick against Tennessee every week, and then they do something that I didn't expect. You know, I expect Atlanta to fall apart, then they put it together, and then the next week they fall apart again. It's like, what is going on? Atlanta's Humpty Dumpty, and Tennessee doesn't know what to do with themselves. So, yeah, I'm going the home team here because I have no clue what to do.
I like that. Yeah. I think it's time for Tannehill in Tennessee.
There you go.
I think that's where it's going. It's going to be heading that way. I mean, Mariota is teetering, like you said, on that borderline. Okay, look, man, you had plenty of time to get this thing rolling. What's the problem? So they're going to put a more experienced guy in there, and they'll start probably being a lot better because all you need is a quarterback that can manage the game, and he's not even that. He's not even doing that right now. So I would say it's time for Tannehill in this aspect. But Atlanta, up and down, you never know which Atlanta team you're going to get. I have no idea, but I'm going to go with the Falcons just because they have offense and the Tennessee Titans don't.
Interesting. So let's move on to the Thursday night game. And I'm looking at this because when I saw it earlier, I was thinking it was that it was in a different quarter. Okay, yeah, it is. Okay. So I think it did upgrade. So update. So it's in the fourth quarter. So we got Philadelphia at Green Bay. And right now, Philadelphia is up 34-27. I know he's got all the talent in the world. I'm just never that sold on him. And Aaron Rodgers throwing subliminal distance to his new head coach in the media and all that good stuff. He's a dude that seems that he doesn't like to take on any type of blame or responsibility for himself. But that's just me on the outside looking in. But so how did you see this game playing out, gentlemen? Let's start with you, Sean.
You know, Philadelphia, you lost to the Lions. The Cardinals didn't even do that. I mean, I was expecting them to bounce back, and I was disappointed from Philadelphia. This is becoming a trend for them. It's not a good trend for Philly, so I'm thinking Green Bay's going to capitalize at home here, but they're going to have to do it late, and they're going to have to do it quick.
Okay, what you got, Casual E?
I mean, without watching the game now because it's already on after the fact, but before the game, I was thinking that the Green Bay's defense was going to be a lot better than what they've shown tonight. They had a pretty good defense up to this point. Nobody was able to score this many points on them, and now Philly's rolling up and down the field on them like nothing. So it's like, okay, I thought it was just Green Bay's defense holding them to that 3-0 record, and then Aaron and them was going to come back and start to catch up to the defense, and they were going to be a scary team. But now it's like, okay, like you said, Sean, we can't figure out half of these teams now. I guess it's still too early.
Yeah.
So I guess right now I picked Green Bay in this game, but Philly's turned into a different team that they haven't looked like all season. So I don't know.
Green Bay's in the red zone though.
Yeah, they're, what do we call those? The Enigmas. Word to a wonderful Keith Murray album, his second album, Enigma. So let's get into the next game, which is Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Los Angeles Rams. This was interesting to me because, again, Jameis Winston is that dude that you're just waiting for him to just – I mean, he comes in 782 yards so far this season. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers come in 1-2. The Los Angeles Rams are 3-0, and of course, and what's interesting to me is that when you look at the Rams are eighth when it comes to points scored this season. But more importantly, what they're doing, I think they're trying to become a little bit more balanced. But it's the way in which they try to use Gurley. It's almost as if he's on a pitch count sometimes, and sometimes they just let him go. But I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. Will the Rams really kind of get back to that old form that they had from last season? But so how do you see this one playing out, Casual E?
Man, all I can say right now is poor BA, man.
Yeah.
Poor, I mean, he had that win, and then now he got to deal with the questions, and then he got to deal with Jameis Winston going up and down, up and down. It kind of feels like the Cardinals when he was, having those issues with the quarterbacks when Palmer was out or we didn't have Palmer. But I don't know. This game is going to be a pretty weird game in my I mean, when I think about it, because you would think that the Rams would just run away with this, but Todd Bowles' defense has a way of putting pressure on quarterbacks. They blitz them all over from everywhere. You know how they do it because that was the Cardinals before, so you know how they blitz them.
True.
If you can rattle the golf, that'll keep you in the game. And then on the other side, I don't think they got a shot because Aaron Donald's about to wreak havoc in this game. So, but I'm going with the Rams. I think it's going to be a real tighter game than everybody thinks it will be.
What you got, Sean?
The shout out to the Tampa Bay defense. Right now, they have forced almost twice as many fumbles as they've allowed. But, I don't think it's going to do much for them there because the Rams on offense don't seem to turn the ball over. They haven't really been that type of team. It's sad for BA, but the Rams are going to eat Winston alive. I mean, you have a team in the Tampa Bay Bucks that gave the Giants hope for their entire season now, and that's not a good look for any team to have. And they gave the Giants hope. So it's not a good sign, and I don't think they can bounce back. That's a tough ask to bounce back when you lose to the Giants and then have to beat the Rams. I don't see that flip going.
Exactly.
Got you. How about we move on to the Houston Texans at the Carolina Panthers? Houston comes in 2-1, Carolina 1-2, but they are coming in off of a win because, as we know here in Arizona, that Kyle Allen came in and he won, debuting as the backup quarterback, so getting his first start, if I'm not mistaken. But what was interesting to me is that, well, not interesting to me, but this week it was revealed that Cam Newton will be out for another few weeks because of his foot injury, is what a Liz Frank injury. So I see this one. Deshaun Watson is to me an electrifying player. I'm curious to see if he will continue to. He's been trending up a little bit, so I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. He has 6 touchdowns on the season. And what do you got for this one? It's funny because Greg Olsen, he flashed last week. That's because he's playing the Cardinals. I doubt that he'll even get a pass catch this week, or probably only get a couple and not even really be noticed in this game. But what you got on this one, Sean?
Carolina was definitely able to find a rhythm without Cam. Some fans were celebrating that. Some don't know what to do about that now. Houston's going to do a better job stopping Christian McCaffrey and Greg Olsen. But that Watson-Hopkins combo is hard to stop on the road for Carolina. I just don't see that happening. I think Houston's got bigger goals than Carolina has right now. I'm going to go with Houston at home. It's the safer pick. So I got to go safe.
All right, what you got, Casual E?
I hate to keep on picking on our Cardinals, but you're going to see the real Carolina Panthers this week.
Ain't that something?
Yeah, like I told you a couple of days ago, watch this Kyle Allen. You're going to see the real Kyle Allen in this game because Houston can put pressure. Houston's going to play real good defense. They're going to battle. They're going to be in the game. They're going to stop the run. So you neutralize Christian McCaffrey, and all you got to do is cover Greg Olsen and put pressure on that kid. And watch the difference. This is what we're going to look at this game and say this is what the Cardinals should have done. And then it's kind of funny though when you look the Panthers look at that the injury report and see Cam gets hurt now, and they were really urgency of trying to get him back, and all of a sudden they look at that Cardinal game and go, oh, we could just let him sit for a few more weeks. Now it's no big deal Cam being out.
Yeah,
they're taking a fool's goal with that too, thinking that this kid is what we made him look like.
That's true.
Exactly. So here's where we start because we're in segment 4 now, and that Carolina game was interesting for that perspective. But the rest are kind of we're gonna do the quick hits on them, and I'm sorry to say that my Oakland Raiders are among these. But let's go with the Chargers at Miami. Melvin Gordon is going to be back next week. The Chargers are the Chargers. They're just you know. The Chargers Charger. I don't know what to say. So, what are your thoughts on this one, Sean? Who you got?
I wrote down one thing, man. Miami's looking to lose everything. Why change now? Why change now? I got to go Chargers here. Chargers don't want to lose as bad as the Miami Dolphins do, so Chargers on the road.
Okay, what you got, Earl?
Man, I kind of liked how Josh Rosen came in that game and kind of was battling and played that game. He played pretty good in that last week.
You know, if he plays too good, they're gonna pull him out.
But yeah, the Chargers are still trying to do what the Chargers do. They you know how they do it. The beginning of the regular season, they just all over the place. We don't know. They'll start charging it up at the end of the season. So who cares?
Oh man, another who cares from some folks in the Oakland area because they feel betrayed. The Raiders at Indianapolis. Now this starts, I want to say, the next 6 weeks. The Raiders are going to be playing on the road. They don't get back home until sometime, I think December maybe, or they're going to be until November, something along those lines. But so who you got in this one, Sean?
You know, the Colts are slowly becoming a team to watch, a team to kind of quietly root for. I just hope they don't overlook Oakland. And sorry, Jay, but Oakland's just going to have a rough start to that road trip. They're getting a loss on the road.
Yes, indeed. Who you got, Earl?
Yeah, Indianapolis is playing some good ball right now, man. I mean, offensively, Brissett looks like he looks like what Jimmy G should look like. I mean, you take that Patriot learning and you go and do something with it. This kid is balling with it, but you got to give him props. But yeah, they're playing pretty good on both sides of the ball, so this is gonna be tough for Oakland. And Oakland is a bad road team, so that alone is gonna tell you right now this one's over.
Bad home team, bad road team.
Next time, both of y'all pick quicker so that you don't rub that twist that knife inside of me when you talk about my Raiders. So let's move on to the Denver Broncos at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Denver is 0-3, Jacksonville 1-2, but they do have Gardner Minshew, who has like one of the best mustache games going on in the NFL. I don't know. So who you got in this one, casually? Who you got?
I'm gonna go with Denver because Jacksonville is still fool's gold, and Jalen Ramsey is disrupting that locker room. So yeah, I'm going with Denver.
But you wanted him on the Cardinals, dog.
And I still do. He's gonna disrupt that team because he's mad at them. He ain't mad at us.
Who you got, Sean? Who you got?
This game is not going to be fun to watch. Denver is still running around without an identity. Meanwhile, Minshew Mania, man, it's taking the league by storm. I want that mustache. I won't be able to get that mustache. But, final score, Jacksonville 10, Denver 3. I'm putting my stamp on that one.
Hey, did you see the picture of his uncle? His mustache look even better.
Y'all some fools. So let's go look at New York Giants because what do they call him now? Danny Dimes or something like that.
One game.
The new quarterback. So, and then against Washington Redskins, who are 0-3, and they are looking worse and worse every week. Who you got, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, the Giants have a quarterback, apparently. That's news. We'll see how he's going to do it without Barkley in this game. Most likely a one-dimensional offense rolled out on Sunday. That is not a good sign, but Washington has shown nothing to convince me that they are a competitive team this year at all. So Giants are going to get a win.
All right, what you got, Earl?
Yeah, this is that NFC East. Who cares? Go ahead and put in Haskins and let's see what you got, Washington. That's about all I can say. Giants, ugly win.
I saw a meme that said Haskins made more money on Ohio State than he is right now on Washington.
Wow. And this is one of those, this is that team that I mentioned to you before, fellas. It's that meh team. So Cincinnati at Pittsburgh, when that meh team is Cincinnati. They're both 0-3, which is surprising to me because the Steelers, they're, with a legacy or franchise, whatever it is, but heritage franchise, whatever you want to call them. But who you got in this one, Pittsburgh? Who's going to put a one up on the board? Who you got, Casual E?
This game is going to be a tie.
Hey, you took my notes. Yes.
Oh, my God.
going to be a tie. These are the exact same team, man. They look exactly alike on both sides of the ball. It's going to be a tie, man.
What you got, Sean?
Yo, this is my garbage game of the week. Obviously, it's the last game of the week. Garbage game of the week. Hot trash. Throw it in a pile, man. My biggest hope is that I wrote this down is that this game ends in a tie and that both of these teams are still winless because none of them deserve it. Garbage game of the week. If I had to pick, I'll go Pittsburgh, but that's just because they're at home, not because they're any good.
Nice. So we have come to the end of another wonderful episode of the Neutral Zone. So on behalf of our brother who is missing, Ed Smith, on behalf of Sean McConnell, on behalf of Earl Casual E. Burnett, I am Javon J. Love Adams. And make sure you check out casualsports.com, KAZUALSPORTZ.com, or KSRNAZ.com if you just want letters instead of spelling out all kinds of words. But like we always like to say around this time, let's see if we can do it. Let's see if we can do it, y'all, with all this with the delays. Like we always like to say about this time.
We go. Oh, we didn't do it.
I'll slow down. We go.